ChatGPT Agent is your digital twin. Hi, this is Samir Khan from Solve with AI. Most people use ChatGPT, Copilot, or other Gen AI tools to write faster, reply to the emails, clean up data and notes, and that's completely fine. But let me ask you this question. What if you can use Gen AI to start thinking with you and making complex decisions? Not just help you get the work done faster, but help you go and navigate through that bigger, complex decision process. I'm talking about using ChatGPT as not only your note taker or helper, but as a simulation engine, as your digital twin. A digital twin is a virtual environment that replicates your physical environment, so you can run what-if scenarios without even making a major infrastructure decision or impacting your security and systems and jeopardizing your organization. So you can run these scenarios virtually and see what are the different impacts from a hypothesis perspective and see the results in the digital framework, in the digital setup, without you doing all that investment. Let me give an example. So let's say if you're running a mid-sized SaaS company, you're planning to expand in Europe, and everything is going according to the plan. And then two things hit back to back. First, a new European Union regulation is announced, and it's going to require all the customer data to be hosted in the region. Second, one of your competitors or one of your partners, they go and partner with one of your competitor who's in a telco company. And suddenly your pricing model is not going to work. So what do? Typically, this type of a macroeconomic impact results in organization going crazy, right? So they run all of these meetings, there are fire drills, people are compiling data, they're talking to legal, they're working with finance, they're building all these different models to do the analysis. Then they are preparing all these lengthy PowerPoint presentations. Then we have a boardroom meeting, months of discussion. Then finally you have a strategy brief that you need to implement across your organization. But what if I tell you, you can use ChatGPT to perform all of this analysis for you and present it, in fact, in a PowerPoint presentation that with some tweaks, you can make it ready for the boardroom. That's exactly how ChatGPT Agent can be used to do the simulation. So what I did is in this demo that I'm going to share with you in this video, I gave ChatGPT access to some preliminary data like CRM data, some of the details about the infrastructure cost, product finances, and compliance data. And then I created a prompt that allowed us to start thinking about these scenarios. So I just talked about the European Union regulation, the competitive landscape change, and simulating these options. Then I said, hey, these are the three strategies that I would recommend that you run across the what if scenario. So first is moving users across the Frankfurt location, pausing the Germany rollout completely, and then launching a counter campaign with the bundled pricing. These scenarios are what you're going to get output from your earlier discussion, like, hey, as a company, should I run these scenarios or not? What happened was just pretty enlightening. ChatGPT not only ranks these scenarios and prioritizes them, but it also scores them and tells me the impact on average annual recurring revenue. It even flags the bottleneck, things that I have not even thought about, and provides me a final recommendation, which actually was hybrid. So what it said was migrate high-risk accounts for now and roll out the SLA upgrades for the rest of the accounts and keep the momentum and stay compliant. That was the final recommendation from ChatGPT in this demo. So from my perspective, this is not just automating one piece of the task and saving you maybe 30 minutes or 10 minutes or what have you. It is completely changing the way you make decisions before your competitors can even realize that you are catching up on their strategy very quickly and you're going to go ahead past them. So in past, and I can tell you from personal experience, I've worked in large organization, Fortune 100 and smaller SMB 500, Inc. 500 companies as well. This type of a digital twin setup requires infrastructure change, IT investment, strategic meetings. There's a lot of back and forth, and it takes months for you to build a true digital twin. Now you can build this digital twin with ChatGPT Agent mode, and this applies to any types of companies. So if you're in a manufacturing, healthcare, supply chain, or even HR department. There's so many different moving parts, but you can create and use ChatGPT to create this digital twin and simulate that real life scenario, and you can run those plays one at a time or all together and identify what is the right decision that you need to make and allow it to make some recommendations. So what most companies do, they fall back on dashboards and they hope that some strategies that they're putting in place can work. This is completely changing that model and providing you an infrastructure that you can run this analysis in a matter of an hour, or sometime in case like 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Ask your agent to simulate the outcomes and look at what happens if we delay the rollout. What happens if the vendor goes offline? Which moves gives us the best ROI from a risk to ROI factor? So this allows you to model the past, but also impact your future. So in order for us to make this real, I have created a demo that is going to show you this exact process on how do you set up that digital twin in ChatGPT agent mode. How do you provide the initial data from a prompt perspective, and how do you run this analysis for a complete output and decision-making process? So watch the demo that is just after this video, and you will understand how this process is. And in order for you to get access to the template, there's a link in my show notes. You can click the link, you can get access to the full prompt, all the demo scenarios that I'm running one after the other on my Solve with AI newsletter blog post. Again, this is Samir Khan. The demo is going to be right after this. Hey, this is Samir Khan from Solve with AI. This is the third demo for using ChatGPT agent mode as a digital twin and simulation. What you're looking at is the entire prompt that I've created. And in this prompt, as I articulated in the newsletter post, all the details. So you'll see this is a strategic decision twin agent for a mid-sized healthcare company. In this case, I'm using a different example. The previous two examples were a large manufacturing company. And then the second was a SaaS company. This third one is a healthcare organization. So you're a healthcare organization, digital twin agent, and based in Europe. You're simulating cross-functional decision on 5 different personas. So I want it to act as a boardroom simulation where we have your chief operational officer, financial officer, marketing, your HR, and infrastructure and IT officer. This persona is going to speak from a domain expertise and resource constraint. These are some of the data resources that I provided. I've also provided some real world triggers. So there is a Data Privacy Act that is in play and that went live in March. So it needs to look at that. These are all the tasks it's going to provide from a responsibility perspective. So for example, for Chief Information Officer, it's going to look at infrastructure delay and compliance readiness. For CO, it's going to look at the impact on patient flow and service continuity. Then it's going to facilitate a multi-agent dialogue exploring the trade-off and negotiated a coordinated response, such as expedited procurement, phased rollout, and hybrid options. Finally, it's going to generate output as the discussion evolves. So it's going to provide some battle cards summarizing the positions and trade-offs, org charts, resource allocation if required, because we also have HR in here for staffing purposes, which are the decisions always made when there is a macroeconomic event that's happening or a black swan event. Output format is going to be a presentation deck and spreadsheets. And then there's some sample data, which I already articulated earlier. It's going to take some of that data in here. So as you see, it's already performing that decision. And if I click that, it's going through all of the review cycle, looking at the different data sources, doing some analysis, pausing and thinking, analyzing the data. Once this is completed, I will share the output. Hey, this is Samir Khan from Solve with AI. Now you're looking at the output from the third demo that we did. If you recall, this is the prompt that we created for a real world boardroom scenarios where we have 5 different personas that are going to be playing the boardroom decision-making process. So we have the COO, CIO, and all of these other executives. As a data source, we're providing some of the high-level data sources. So let's just jump on to the output since we already reviewed the prompt in detail. Just to recollect, the output format was a presentation deck and a spreadsheet. So here we are, it's now acting as a strategic decision twin agent for these 5 personas. This is the executive summary, real world context and example. So what is the context? Why are they getting into this decision-making mode? Is because the European health data space has entered into force on 26 March 2025, and that is going to have some implications on the healthcare company. So what are the primary concerns and trade-offs? Let's look at a couple of examples. So on the financial side, the financial officer is going to evaluate the budget impact of a 15% surcharge to expedite the scanner shipment. The chief marketing officer is going to protect patient outreach and retention by communicating delays and leveraging partner facilities without eroding the brand trust. What is the ultimate decision that these guys have made in this simulation? So first off, they have negotiated options and trade-offs. So the group explored 4 scenarios: expediting procurement, phase rollout, capacity reallocation, and a hybrid approach of expediting 2 scanners and relocating some volume. And finally, they reached to a consensus and decision. So this is the overview of the decision. So for example, the financial team, the CFO, is going to manage the expenditure, leveraging 200,000 euro per unit contingency budget. The HR is going to schedule EHDS compliance training for all 120 staff, that is 120 hours per person. And the deliverables is again provided in a nice format in PowerPoint presentation and as well as the spreadsheets. Let's look at the PowerPoint presentation. So very nicely put deck, has the agenda, it has this background scenario from an EHDS compliance perspective. It is also looking at the impact of the changes that are happening in the market. So semiconductor shortage is going to disrupt medtech supply. There is a shortage of helium as well. Then we're also looking at, from an executive perspective, what are the key decisions and trade-offs, and then it's providing this nice little chart on the scenario options and trade-offs. Finally, let's look at the spreadsheet as well. So this is the spreadsheet. We have the scenario options, all of these scenarios: description, patient flow, cost impact, compliance risk, and more. We are also looking at the resource allocation on this second tab. So it talks about that, how many scanners do we have, and what is going to be the potential impact, and how many do we need after the impact, and how many we want to expedite. Training hour per staff, staff overlay, so how much staff do we need, and how much training do we need to have completed for each of the different staff owners. Again, very, very powerful. I encourage you to start using ChatGPT Agent mode as a digital twin and simulator. Instead of just asking it to do basic tasks like, okay, book my hotel, you need to start thinking about how you can use this in your organization, in the decision-making process. Doesn't matter what level you are in the organization, you can potentially use it in many different powerful ways. Again, this is Samir Khan from Solve with AI.